What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down why the market sold off very sharply on Friday and what President Trump is now saying that could change the course for the markets because he may be foreshadowing that the tensions between the US and China may be de-escalating very, very soon. Just know a couple of things. I'm personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below or use this QR code right here to sign up. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free Nvidia stock. If you deposit $2,000 or more, you're going to get $50 worth of Nvidia for free plus $100. If you deposit $10,000 or more, you're going to get $300 worth of Nvidia plus $100, or deposits $50,000 or more to get $1,000 of free Nvidia stock plus $100. You're also going to qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash, and the offer ends very soon, so please use my link down below to sign up. Anyways, let's talk about what's happening with the stock market. So we got this crazy sell-off on Friday. SPY was down almost 3%. The QQQ was down almost 4% for the day, which is crazy because the market usually does not drop that much in one day. It usually takes weeks to achieve lows that low within such a short period of time, right? Even just a couple of weeks is pretty fast for the market to drop that much. We did all of that in just one day. So in one day, the market sold off like this. What was going on? And what did President Trump say that might actually cause a bounce very soon? Let's go over everything just real quick. So the first thing to remember is that as people that consume products and use batteries and such, we depend on minerals, right? We use minerals for these products, and China controls the majority of those minerals. China supplies over 60% of the Earth's mined rare earths, not to mention they control around 90% of the processing capacity. This is some massive news because this is important because China is in control of all of this. And there was news coming out that they were looking to restrict exports, export licenses, and the production mechanisms. And with those restrictions coming out, it would be a very big roadblock for many different companies that depend on them, right? From semiconductor companies to EVs, especially, that's some very big news. So a company like Tesla, for example, they use all these minerals for their EVs, for batteries, battery packs, and such. So this would have a very big effect on them, at least when it comes to getting past regulations and such. And this was what caused a lot of tensions all over the world. And this ended up getting a big response from President Trump, which is what caused the market to sell off. Excuse me. Initially, the market was holding up. It was still pushing to all-time highs, even with the news coming out. But then as soon as President Trump started to post about this on his Truth Social page, the market came falling like a rock. So what did he say? I'm not going to go over every detail because I did go over all of this on Friday. So this is his first very important post. He called China very hostile. He said they're becoming very hostile. He just said that he's not really happy about what they're doing with these export controls. And they're once again affecting like the production mechanisms with these rare earths, and it's some very big news. So he was saying that they're very hostile. This is hurting the world economies essentially. With these exports that are coming out, it's really hurting a lot of different countries, and they're not really happy about this. He also accused them of trying to monopolize the industry, and he just went on about this. He also threatened them by saying that the US has leverage over them, and the list goes on. And then he started talking about increasing tariffs on China. That's initially what President Trump said. He was not happy whatsoever with these regulations. And then what happened was this. Just a couple of hours later, President Trump threatened a 100% tariff on China to be imposed on November 1st. It says right here, starting November 1st, we're looking for a tariff of 100% on China, over and above any tariff that they are currently paying. So that's huge news that came out from him. That's what President Trump said on Friday. This is why the stock market tanked like a rock, because once again, the tariff news is just not the best to begin with. And then on top of that, we're going to see a big reaction from China, and the market just does not like this. These tensions are not good whatsoever. This caused a massive sell-off affecting all kinds of products and companies. And then with that happening, the market came down like a rock. Seasonality also played a role, and we were not looking good, at least to start things off. Also, there was some news that came out that China also threatened the US. They said that if President Trump is going to be imposing a 100% tariff, then they're going to once again retaliate. So they're not happy about that either, right? So this is the increase in tensions. Both sides are now arguing, and this caused a lot of downside. At least initially, that is what happened. But as time went on, we started to see a bit of a shift. And I want to kind of like talk about President Trump for just a minute about that. So, President Trump has what he deems as negotiation tactics. So, what he does is he likes to scare countries. He threatens these super high tariffs. Remember, this happened back in April. And what happens is everyone panics. We think the world is going to end, blah, blah, blah. Then all of a sudden he backs down on them and he starts to say that actually he's going to delay the tariffs. Actually, we're going to negotiate. We're going to fix things. And that causes the market to bounce. And that's what actually happened back in April, right? In April, everyone thought the stock market was going to crash really hard. Let me just pull up the daily time frame just real quick to show you guys this. I'm going to go all the way back to like April. Remember, the stock market was just tanking, tanking, tanking. We were already on a bit of a downtrend. Then President Trump had the tariff threats and we dumped for a couple of days. And then we just saw like a full V-shaped recovery after that, after President Trump announced that he wants to delay the tariffs. And then what's happening is we're dipping right now. We could try to dip a bit more if we end up losing some key supports. There are still some gaps to fill. We could see a bit more downside. But then if President Trump starts to de-escalate the situation, there could be a very, very big bounce. And we have reason to believe that he might be doing this. So what happens is, I want to make this very, very clear. President Trump was very vociferous. He was just very emotional, very angry initially. But as time goes on, the anger cools off. He starts to turn calm and things begin to change in his tonality. Let me give you some proof of what I'm saying. First off, we had J.D. Vance, who came out today. He is the U.S. Vice President. He said that we're going to be choosing the path of reason. And he mentioned that President Trump is going to be a very reasonable negotiator. He said it's going to be a delicate dance and a lot is going to depend on how China responds. He made that very, very clear. He also said that if they're highly aggressive, he guarantees us that the US has more cards than China. Of course, China will say the same thing back to us, but so far he says that he wants us to be reasonable about this, which I think is a fair point to make. But then President Trump came out and he's saying something else now. When I'm referring to like compared to before from what he was saying, I'm not talking about JD Vance. I'm talking about compared to like what he said a couple of days ago. So compared to what he said on Friday, now President Trump is saying something different. He is saying that we should not worry about China. It will all be fine. The highly respected President Xi just had a bad moment. He doesn't want depression for his country, and neither do I. The U.S. wants to help China, not hurt it. President DJT. Okay. So this is crazy. So we went from being super intense, everyone's arguing, we have 100% tariffs coming, to now he's saying we want to help China, we don't want to hurt them, we want to calm down, don't worry about it. He respects President Xi, right? The tonality is changing. So this is what typically happens. When asked, does he want to meet up with Xi Jinping? First off, he said that the meeting was never canceled, and he wasn't sure if they had a meeting to begin with, but he said he wants to meet up with Xi Jinping now. So now he's changing his tonality. The tonality has changed, and that could have a very, very big effect in the markets. So we go from being super intense, super, angry at one another, and now things are cooling off. The tension is cooling off, and now he says that he wants to help China. So things are changing. So this is just like the start. If he continues on this path and he starts saying that, look, he wants to decrease the tariffs. He doesn't want to impose 100% tariffs. He wants to delay them or something. That could really help this stock market bounce right back up. And we're looking for a big recovery move if he starts saying things like that. And it looks like his tone is shifting. So we'll see if that ends up happening. I still think that there are going to be some things coming out. But I do predict that that's what's going to happen. It's just like what happened back in April. Everyone was panicking. We had these high tariffs on like dozens, if not over 100 countries coming out. The market crashed. Then President Trump delayed the tariffs. The markets just bounced right back up like there was no tomorrow. So in this case, we have 100% tariffs to be imposed on China on November 1st. He might say something very soon that he's going to delay those tariffs, or he might not impose them. Something might happen. Right? Something is going to happen. And if he ends up improving the relationship between the US and China, there could be a big bounce brewing, in my personal opinion. I think there's a good chance that's going to happen based off the history of how President Trump is doing things. Keep in mind, he deems his ways of being very tactical, right? He really got China's attention. He is right to some extent because he did get our attention, okay? Threatening a 100% tariff on China is insane. So that's his way of getting everyone's attention, getting China to listen. And as a result, we should be looking for things to cool off. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. For tomorrow, it's going to be Monday, October 13th. We just have one Fed speaker. Then we also don't really have much for Monday. It's very quiet. But on Tuesday, we have BlackRock, JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Citi, and Wells Fargo all announcing earnings. So we'll see what this leads to. So keep that all in mind. So with that being said, what do I think is going to happen to the stock market? Well, I can't promise everyone that we're done with the downside yet. I think we could still see some consolidation in the morning. So be very careful. But I think that we need to be a little patient. And once President Trump starts giving us more details, I believe that his tonality is shifting now. And I think that now that the market got this dip, a lot of these moneymakers, these managers from different hedge funds, they didn't get a good chance to really buy into this rally. And this is going to be the opportunity because we're going to be pushing once again to new all-time highs again before the year ends. So I think what's going to happen is that we're going to see a big V-shaped recovery soon, but I don't know if it's going to start as soon as tomorrow. It might be a little premature tomorrow, but within a week, I think we're going to be much higher, and I think the market's going to recover. So if we're bullish, just hypothetically, you want to see us reclaim at least 658. If we get back above that, I think we could be going back for these EMAs over here, and we're going to start trying to fill some of these gaps, right? If we're bearish, you want to see us basically fail at this resistance becoming support. First, you want to see us close below 650. Then we want to lose 646, the low from Friday. If that fails us, we could be dipping towards the 630s, right? That's the more bearish case. But I don't think we're going to be dumping that low. I think what's going to happen is that we start off on a low end. We might see another like dip move, consolidation like this, but I think we're going to try to base near 650. We could retest like the 640s, balance a little bit, consolidate, and then the market's going to wait. And I think that Mr. Trump is going to be making some big announcements. He might be announcing he wants to like delay the tariffs or something that's going to happen. And I think the market's going to start bouncing within a week, and we're going to be returning to like the 660s and eventually back towards these EMAs very soon. I think the market's going to try to bounce very hard, but we're going to see tomorrow morning. We might start off on a low end, like I said, consolidation, a little bit more dipping, and then we try to bounce very hard into the 660s within a couple of days, if not within like a week from now. I think we try to bounce like this. That's what I predict is going to most likely happen. I also say this because on the daily time frame, we're trying to hold our very, very key yellow line at 651 hour 50 EMA. So could we dip? Yes. Then we could bounce here and then continue to recover just like that. On the QQQ, we also dipped right here. We have support at 584. If we lose 584, we could be dipping all the way down towards the 578 area. But if we get back above 598, then we could be looking for a full V-shaped recovery move, right? Those are going to be your key levels to watch for. Now, I think what's going to happen is this. We're looking like we bounced near 584 already. And I think that's the QQQ looks like it wants to bounce a bit. We might dip, consolidate a little bit, and then we're looking for a move back up towards, I'd say like 600. I would not be surprised if we actually try to bounce, right? There's a good chance we try to slingshot right back up. We might consolidate in the morning, retest 585 to 590, dip a little bit more, and then I think we're going to be looking for a big V-shaped move back up within a week from now. I think that's what the market's going to most likely end up doing. On the IWM, I think that everyone is panicking, expecting us to crash, but instead, we could retest like 235 or even like 230. There's still that gap to fill in case we do dump lower, but if President Trump starts announcing he wants to basically de-escalate the situation, we could be looking for a push back up towards that 240 area for a temporary move up. Looking at other tickers such as ES is not looking as strong right now. We do have some support around 6,500 though, so I do think that we could touch near 6,500 if we do dip a little bit more. If we lose that, it's going to be more bearish. We're looking for a bigger dump, but I do think we try to base between 6,500 and 6,550. And then We're going to be looking for a bounce back up to the 6600s pretty quickly. I'd say within a week we try to bounce back up. We could dip a little bit more to the lower 6500s and consolidate before we try to bounce back up to 6600 plus. That's what I think is going to most likely happen. NQ took a massive dump. This is down almost 4%. There is support at 24,000. Right over here, there's support around 24,000. So could we test 24,100? It's possible. And then we could be looking for a big bounce back up to 24,400 if we end up holding our key support. So watch us base at 24,000. If we lose that, we could be retesting 23,800 and then bounce. Either way, I do think that we do try to bounce. One good sign is that Bitcoin's bouncing quite nicely right now. It's up 4%. Nice double bottom. Could be looking for 116,400 very soon. Tesla dipped quite a bit. Now with Tesla, I don't know if downside's done yet. I think we're close to bouncing because we haven't filled this gap yet. There's a gap to fill at 395. I would not be surprised if Tesla kind of retests 395 to 400 and then we try to bounce and we see a big move back up towards 425. I think that's what Tesla's going to most likely do. So there might be a little bit more downside coming before it tries to bounce. On Nvda, I think the same thing is going on. We need to lose 177 to be really bearish. If we reclaim 185, we're looking for a bounce. I think we could retest 180, consolidate, but then I think we bounce back up to 185 plus as the most likely possibility. On Appl, if we end up losing 239, we're looking for a bigger dump. But if we could hold above 245, we might consolidate and bounce back up towards that 248 area. If Netflix loses 1200, it's bearish. I do think we try to bounce off this though because it's not really affected as much by this news for 1225 for a temporary bounce. I'm going to go kind of fast with the rest of these. For MSTR, we have a double bottom right here. We also have a slight bullish divergence. We're going to see if 300 holds. It might dip a little bit below that, but I do think we're going to try to base around 300. Then we're looking for a pushback up to the 310s. If Celsius loses 59.3, we're looking for a dump. If we hold this, we're looking for a move back up towards 61.4. On Supermicro, we're going to see if we could hold 50. 50 is psychological. If we lose 50, we dump to 48. But if we hold 50, we could consolidate, then bounce back up for 55. Palantir's down here around 171. We're going to see we held our 200 EMA. So it might consolidate and try to bounce back up to 180. Rivian's on a bit of a downtrend. We're going to see if we end up losing 12.5. We could test that and try to bounce back up for essentially 13.25. SoFi, if it ends up losing 27.5, we're looking for a dump. If we hold that, we could be looking for a move back up to 27.5. It also depends on the big bank earnings on Tuesday. AMD needs to reclaim 215. If we do, we're looking for a bounce back up to 225. It might test around 210 for a small dip before it tries to bounce back up for the 220s. For ARM, we need to basically hold above 155. If we lose 150, we're looking for a bigger dump. As long as we hold this, though, we could be looking for essentially 160. For PayPal, if we end up losing 69.9, we're looking for a bigger dump as well. If we could hold 68, we're looking for some consolidation and a move back up towards 71.28. Coinbase has 335 as support and 361 as our resistance. We could retest essentially 345, then bounce for the 360s. For Amazon, we have support right here all the way down around this 212 area. As long as we could hold 212, we're looking for a rebound for 218 plus. We have a double bottom on Meta. We could be retesting 715 as a result. As long as we hold 700, I think we kind of retest that bounce. Then we're looking for a test of 720. So 700 could be retested, but then I'm looking for a bounce for 720. Google has a double bottom. If we end up losing 234, we're looking for a dump. As long as this holds, we're looking for 240. Microsoft, we tested 510. As long as that holds, I think we're bouncing back up for 515. And Oracle, it's kind of weak here. We need to see if 285 holds. As long as it holds, we're looking for a bounce for 295. The VIX also has a history of rejecting your 22. So we got 1, 2, 3 rejections near the 22 area. It might reject you and dip back down below 20. The dollar is starting to dip, which is a bullish sign. And then crude is dipping right now, which is bullish. So I think the market might actually bounce. We could kind of toy with these levels. We might test them again. One more time, we could kind of retest the low 650s or even 640, 648 on SPY again, just for a little bit. But then I'm looking for a bounce back up to 660 within a week. The QQQ may also retest the 580s, 585 or so before it bounces right back up for 598 to 600 very soon. If President Trump is going to basically de-escalate the situation, that is most likely what's going to happen. That is what he's known for doing. So I do think that that's what's about to happen. And I think that's the most likely possibility based off what he has done historically. So we'll see what he says. I'll give you guys updates over the next couple of days to see what happens. And I'll be back tomorrow to give you guys another update as well. So until then, I wish you all nothing but the best. I thank you all so much for listening, and peace out.